We are a species obsessed with the pursuit of the ultimate. We crave the strongest, the thinnest, the most efficient. In our arrogance, we believe we can command the fundamental building blocks of the universe without consequence. We have reached into the atomic realm and pulled out a miraculous sheet of carbon just one atom thick. We call it graphene. We hailed it as the savior of technology, the foundation of the future. But the future we are building is not a sanctuary. It is a clinical razor-thin trap. We have welcomed an invisible intruder into our homes, our clothing, and our very cells. We perceive graphene as a hero of science, but biology recognizes it as a fundamental threat to the integrity of life. What happens when the miracle material turns into a molecular assassin? What happens when the material that was supposed to save humanity begins to slice it apart from the inside out? This is the chronicle of the invisible shroud, the silent atomic-scale liquidation of the human body. This is discovered. To understand the nightmare, we must first look at the cold, calculating physics of this substance. Graphene is a two-dimensional lattice of carbon. It is so thin that it is effectively invisible to the naked eye, yet it is 200 times stronger than steel. It conducts electricity better than any known metal and moves electrons with a velocity that defies traditional logic. But strength at this scale has a terrifying corollary. In 2013, researchers at Brown University exposed a horrific reality. When graphene is broken into microscopic flakes, it becomes a vengeful predator at the nanoscale. Graphene edges are so sharp and so strong that they act as molecular razors. They do not merely interact with biological cells, they go through them. These invisible ninjas do not require force. Their very geometry allows them to slice through cell membranes like a scalpel with no resistance. When you inhale graphene dust, and you will, as it becomes ubiquitous in our industrial cycle, you are not just inhaling a pollutant. You are inhaling millions of atomic thin blades that will perform a biological sashimi on your lung tissue, shredding your internal defenses before your immune system even realizes it is under attack. But the physical trauma is only the first stage of the breach. In 2022, a devastating European scientific review confirmed a scenario that was once confined to the darkest reaches of science fiction. Graphene can cross the blood-brain barrier. This is the most sacred boundary of the human body, the biological gatekeeper that protects our neurons from the toxins of the outside world. Graphene does not respect this gate. Its atomic thinness allows it to migrate from the lungs or the skin into the bloodstream, and from there, into the brain. Once inside the cranium, graphene is not a silent observer. It is a vandal in the cathedral of the mind. It settles among your neurons, interfering with the delicate electrical impulses that define your thoughts, your memories, and your identity. It is a 2D intruder sightseeing through your consciousness, and it is not a polite guest. It triggers what biologists call oxidative stress, but in reality it is a form of chemical warfare under certain conditions. Graphene particles transform the very oxygen we need to survive into a toxic cascade, known as reactive oxygen species, or ROS. This is a molecular oxygen smash where the air in your cells stops being your friend and starts destroying everything it touches. It is a state of permanent, microscopic inflammation, a drunk Godzilla rampaging through your DNA. Scientists have begun to draw the inevitable comparison. Graphene is the asbestos of the 21st century. But unlike asbestos, which stayed in the lungs, graphene is mobile. It is an atomic-scale ghost that can haunt every organ in your body. The danger is not a distant possibility. It is a mounting reality. As graphene becomes cheaper and more integrated into our global supply chain, we are moving toward a state of total exposure. Imagine the year 2037. Graphene prices have crashed. It is now everywhere in your smart clothing, in your walls, in your drinking water. We are told that graphene-lined clothing is the pinnacle of hygiene because it self-cleans and repairs itself. But as you wear these garments, they shed. Microscopic fragments of graphene dust are released into the air around you with every movement. You are living in a permanent cloud of invisible razors. The psychological gallows of this future is the loss of the safe space. When the material that makes up your smartphone, your fridge, and your walls is thinner than your best-kept secret, privacy becomes a relic of a dead world. Graphene's hyperconductivity allows for sensors so small and so sensitive that they can be woven into the very paint on your walls. We are building a world of transparent insulation walls that look like glass but act like a vacuum. Mirrors with built-in deepfake filters that correct your appearance until you no longer recognize the face staring back. But the smart home is actually a surveillance tomb. Graphene-based cameras are so advanced they can theoretically capture the subtle thermal and electrical shifts of your brain activity. They do not just photograph your movements, they document your thoughts. Every regret about an ex-partner, every flicker of dissent, every moment of vulnerability is recorded by a material that is too thin to be seen. You are being live-streamed to a data center you will never visit, by a material you cannot feel. We must examine the industrial legacy of our miracle materials. History is a graveyard of scientific hubris. We remember asbestos, the fireproof miracle that turned into a multi-generational death sentence of lung cancer. We remember DDT, the savior of agriculture that poisoned the very food chain it was meant to protect. We remember radioactive face creams from the early 20th century, marketed as the glow of health while they rotted the jaws of their users. Every miracle comes with a warning sign, but the warning is usually written in the blood of the first generation of users. Graphene's warning is clear, but we are choosing to ignore it. The danger starts when this material becomes an aerosol or a dust. Solid graphene used in a closed-circuit electronics board may be chill, a nerdy cousin helping to build the future, but that is not how graphene will stay. In our drive for profit, we will put it in everything. We will put it in car tires, which will shed graphene dust onto our roads. We will put it in water filters, which will eventually leak graphene flakes into our taps. We will put it in our cats' litter boxes, in our children's toys, and in our very skin through regenerative medicine. Imagine a graphene-powered car. It is half the weight of a traditional vehicle, zero fuel, capable of accelerating from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour faster than you can blink. But graphene is too light. On a windy day, the car takes off like a drone, a lethal projectile of carbon and glass. Imagine graphene gaming consoles that offer instant loading and ultra-realistic graphics. But if you rage quit, the console connected to your neural activity via a graphene-infused headset triggers an involuntary therapy session, manipulating your brain chemistry to make you compliant. This is the liquidation of the human experience. If graphene truly becomes everyone's material, life becomes a perfect, suffocating mix of permanent surveillance and biological erosion. We are trading the coarse world of steel and wood for a transparent world that is actually an atomic cage. Someday, the survivors of this era will look back and remember when graphene was only for scientists in high-security labs, the Breaking Bad-style environments of gloves, masks, and maximum ventilation. They will wonder why we ever thought it was safe to bring the invisible ninja into our bedrooms. The abyss is not a hole in the ground. It is a space between the atoms of our own bodies. We have filled that space with a material that does not belong there. Graphene is science's ultimate katana, but we are wielding it by the blade. We have created a material that is 200 times stronger than our own bones and far more conductive than our own nerves. We are effectively making ourselves obsolete, one atom-thin layer at a time. As you sit in your smart home, surrounded by graphene-infused technology, listen to the silence. It is not the silence of peace. It is the silence of a material that absorbs only 1% of light and 100% of your privacy. You are being watched by your walls. You are being sliced by your dust. You are being rewritten by your miracles. The floor is thinner than you think. The air is sharper than you imagine. And the material that was supposed to save the world is currently sightseeing in your neurons, waiting for the moment when oxygen becomes Godzilla and your brain begins to buffer. Science is not magic. It is a cold, clinical responsibility, and we have failed the test. We have invented the next big thing, and we are ending up in a future disaster documentary. The real revolution was not about the material. It was about the caution we threw away. Remember, not everything transparent is harmless. Some things are just too thin for you to see the blood they leave behind. If you are prepared to face the truths that the world chooses to ignore, stay with us. There are many more scientific anomalies and molecular horrors waiting to be unburied. We will continue to explore the truths that have been hidden in the shadows of our miracles and the depths of our own limitations. Subscribe to Discovered and activate the notification bell. In a world of comfortable delusions and miracle marketing, we provide the cold, clinical evidence of reality. Do not miss our next report, where we will examine the next impossible or almost possible scenario that threatens the very definition of humanity. See you in the next investigation. And remember, watch what you breathe. The invisible is already inside you.